actors of being fake, and I think one of the reasons for that,
narcissistic, mostly.
but there's that for sure. But
They made 18 films together. For 40 years, fans across Europe and South America have argued about one question: who was really tougher, the giant with the hammer fist or the cowboy with the fastest hands in cinema? One of them was a two-time Olympic swimmer. The other survived the firebombing of Dresden as a child. One of them was an amateur heavyweight boxer who never lost a fight. The other lost his teenage son in a car crash and disappeared from the world for a decade. They called each other brothers. They never argued, not once, not in 18 films, not in 49 years of friendship. And at the very end, when one of them was gone, the other stood at his funeral and said the only words that mattered. But before we get to that, we need to settle the question. 10 rounds, 1 point per round, no draws allowed. Spencer versus Hill. Here, we settle it. Number 1. Origin story. Who came from harder beginnings? Carlo Pedersoli was born on October 31, 1929, in the Santa Lucia district of Naples. His father Alessandro ran a factory. His mother Rosa kept the family together. They were comfortable, middle class. The kind of family that expected their son to become a lawyer. Then the bombs came. In 1940, Allied bombing destroyed his father's factory. The family fled Naples for Rome. Carlo was 11. He watched his father's livelihood turn to rubble. By 1947, the family had emigrated to Brazil, looking for a fresh start. 17-year-old Carlo worked at the Italian consulate in Recife, learning Portuguese, sweating through tropical heat, trying to help his father rebuild from nothing. Mario Girotti was born on March 29, 1939, in Venice. His father Girolamo was an Italian chemist. His mother Hildegard was German, from Lomach in Saxony. When Mario was barely 3, the family moved to his mother's hometown. In February 1945, the Allies firebombed Dresden. Mario was 5 years old. He has described the experience as horrific: the fire, the noise, the smell of a city burning. When the war ended, the Girotti family walked on foot from Saxony back to Italy, a 5-year-old boy crossing a destroyed continent. Both men lost their childhoods to the same conflict. But Spencer lost his father's ashes. Business. Hill walked through the ashes of a city. Point to Hill. But the next round isn't about survival. It's about what these two men could do with their bodies. Number 2. Physical toughness. Who was actually stronger? Carlo Pedersoli stood 6'4". In his swimming prime, he weighed approximately 120 kilograms. A 48-inch chest. Arms like bridge cables. The official Mediterranean Games athlete profile lists his measurements as 194 centimeters and 120 kilos. During his acting career, his weight climbed even higher. At his heaviest, he reportedly approached 155 kilograms. That is nearly 350 pounds. And he could still move. He could still throw a punch. He could still make a stuntman flinch just by walking toward him. Mario Girotti stood about 5'11", approximately 77 kilograms, lean, quick, built for speed rather than power. He was a gymnast, a runner, a capable horseman. On screen, his toughness came from agility, the quick draw, the dodge, the grin that said he was 3 moves ahead. But in a real room, if these two men stood face to face, one of them fills the doorframe. The other slides through it. Point to Spencer. And the next round proves why his physical toughness wasn't just appearance. Number 3. Real fights. Who was more dangerous off-screen? Before Carlo Pedersoli became Bud Spencer, he stepped into a boxing ring. Not for a movie, for real, amateur heavyweight. On his official website, he wrote it in his own words. During this period, I also engage in a few boxing challenges as a heavyweight, winning all the fights. He never lost. Every fight he entered, he won. The man who would become famous for the overhead hammer fist could actually throw one. Mario Girotti never boxed, never brawled, never had a reputation for off-screen violence. He was gentle, private, family-oriented. The fastest hands in spaghetti westerns belonged to one of the quietest men in Italian cinema. And here is the thing your audience needs to know. The famous on-screen fights between Spencer and Hill were entirely choreographed. Hill explained their signature move, the pigeon punch, in his own words. Spencer would bring his fist down toward Hill's head. Hill would jump up and fall flat like a pigeon that had been shot. Spencer invented the overhead fist. Hill invented the fall. The thunderous impact sound was added in post. Nobody ever actually got hit. The elaborate brawl in They Call Me Trinity took 10 days to film. 10 days. For a fight that looks like chaos on screen but was rehearsed like ballet. Point to Spencer. 3 rounds, 2 points. But the next round is where Spencer's real credentials become undeniable. Number 4. Athletic ability. Who was the better athlete? This is not close. On September 19, 1950, Carlo Pedersoli became the first Italian in history to swim the 100-meter freestyle in under 1 minute. His time was 59.5 seconds. He later lowered the Italian national record to 58.2 seconds. He represented Italy at 2 Olympic Games: Helsinki in 1952, Melbourne in 1956. He was a 7-time Italian national champion in the 100-meter freestyle, plus 3 more titles as a junior. He won 4 additional national titles in relay competitions. He took silver in the 100-meter freestyle at the 1951 Mediterranean Games in Alexandria. And then there was water polo. He played for SS Lazio in Rome, won the Italian championship in 1954, won gold with the Italian national team at the 1955 Mediterranean Games in Barcelona. In 2005, the Italian Swimming Federation awarded him the Medaglia d'Oro, their highest honor. In 2011, a public swimming pool in Germany was renamed the Bud Spencer Bath. Hill was a real athlete. He swam for the La Club in Rome starting at age 12, won a bronze medal in junior breaststroke, and won a silver medal rowing for the Roma Club. He was discovered by director Dino Risi at a swimming meet. But Hill himself knew the truth. He once said that if Spencer had trained harder, he would have won the gold medal at the Olympic Games. That is Hill's opinion, not verified fact. But the respect behind it tells you everything. Point to Spencer. And the man who said it was not just being generous, he was being honest. Because Hill earned his toughness a different way. Number 5. War experience. Who paid the higher price? Neither man served in the military. Both were children during World War II. But the war touched them differently. Spencer was displaced. His father's factory was destroyed. His family fled Naples for Rome. He later wrote that Rome was relatively safer thanks to the presence of the Pope in the Vatican. He was uprooted. He was scared. But he was not in the direct path of destruction. Hill was in Dresden, or close enough to hear it, close enough to smell it, close enough that the experience stayed with him for the rest of his life. He was 5 years old when the most devastating aerial bombardment in European history turned the city 40 kilometers from his mother's hometown into an inferno. And then he walked home, a 5-year-old boy, on foot, across the ruins of post-war Europe, from Saxony to Italy. Point to Hill. The score is Spencer 3, Hill 2. But the next round changes the question. It's no longer about who was tougher. It's about what these two men built before they ever met each other. Number 6. Career before the partnership. Who had more range? Before he ever appeared on screen, Carlo Pedersoli had already lived 3 careers. Champion swimmer, law student. He earned a full law degree from the University of Rome. Consulate worker in Brazil. Songwriter for RCA, writing songs for artists including Ornella Vanoni. Documentary producer for Italian state television. Licensed airline pilot. Licensed helicopter pilot. The man could swim the 100 meters in under a minute, argue a legal case, fly you to Milan, and write you a love song. His first film credit was a bit part in 1950. He played a Praetorian Guard in the 1951 MGM production of Quo Vadis. But he called his early film career strictly minor league. Mario Giraudy was a child actor, discovered by director Dino Risi at age 12. His debut was Vacanze col Gangster in 1951, playing an orphan gang leader. By the time he met Spencer, he had already appeared in roughly 20 films, including a notable role in Luchino Visconti's The Leopard in 1963. He studied classical literature at university. He made a string of German Karl May Western adaptations in the mid-1960s. Spencer was the polymath. Hill was the professional. Spencer had more careers before acting. Hill had more experience in acting. This round is a draw. No point awarded. Which means Spencer leads 3-2 heading into the round that defines them both. Number 7. The partnership. How it actually worked. They almost never met. On the set of Giuseppe Colizzi's God Forgives, I Don't, in 1967, the lead opposite Spencer was an actor named Peter Martell. The day before shooting began, Martell broke his foot. Some accounts say it happened during a domestic argument. Whatever the cause, he couldn't walk. The production needed a replacement. Immediately, they called Mario Girotti. The director asked both men to adopt American-sounding names. Pedersoli became Bud Spencer, named after Budweiser beer and actor Spencer Tracy. Girotti became Terence Hill, chosen from a list of 20 names, partly because the initials matched his German mother Hildegard's. Over the next 27 years, they made 18 films together. Spencer was the grumpy strongman. Hill was the agile charmer. Colizzi noticed that audiences laughed more when the two were on screen together and deliberately reteamed them. Off-screen, their friendship was genuine. Spencer wrote that because they were so different, there was no jealousy nor enviousness between them. There was always a lot of respect. Hill's most quoted line about their relationship is also the simplest. "We have never quarreled. Not once. Not in 18 films. Not across 49 years of friendship." Who was more popular? Hill was the bigger solo box office draw. He could carry films like My Name is Nobody without Spencer. But Spencer had his own franchise. The Piedone Flatfoot films made him a solo star. Point to Hill on popularity. Spencer 3, Hill 3. Tied heading into the movies. Number 8. Best on-screen moments. The numbers don't lie. They Call Me Trinity came out in 1970. It was made for under 400 million lire. It became one of the highest-grossing Italian films ever released. As of 2004, it ranked as the 22nd most successful Italian film of all time. One place behind The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly. The famous bean-eating scene? Hill starved himself for 24 hours before shooting, so his hunger would look real. It was filmed in one take. Then came Trinity Is Still My Name in 1971. It broke every record its predecessor had set. Over 14,500,000 admissions in Italy alone. It became the top-grossing Italian film up to that point. In Germany, it drew over 12 million viewers. Watch Out, We're Angry in 1974 gave the world the Dune Buggy Contest, the beer and sausage-eating competition, and the Oliver Onions theme song, Dune Buggy, that fans still sing at conventions 50 years later. My Name is Nobody in 1973 paired Hill with Henry Fonda, from an idea by Sergio Leone. Hill called it his personal favorite. It drew over 6 million admissions in Germany. Their films didn't just make money. They invented a genre, the Fagioli Western, the Bean Western. Comedy mixed with brawling, mixed with Ennio Morricone scores, mixed with plates of food. Nobody had done it before. Nobody has done it since. Point to both. Spencer 4, Hill 4. Dead even heading into what happened after they stopped making films together. Number 9. Life After the Partnership. Their last film together was Troublemakers in 1994. Hill directed it. After that, they went their separate ways. Not because of a fight, because they had different things left to build. Spencer kept acting. He starred in the extra-large television action series from 1991 to 1993. He founded an airline called Mistral Air in 1984, which he later sold to Poste Italiane. He ran for political office as a Forza Italia candidate in 2005 at Silvio Berlusconi's personal invitation. He published a best-selling autobiography. He wrote a cookbook, and in his spare time, he registered 12 patents, including a disposable toothbrush with built-in toothpaste and a walking stick with a built-in seat. Hill took a different path. After losing his son Ross, he retreated from public life. Then in 2000, he accepted the role of a crime-solving Catholic priest in a television series called Don Matteo. The show ran for 22 years on Italian state television, 13 seasons. Hill became one of the most beloved faces in Italian homes, not as a cowboy, not as a brawler, as a priest. Spencer was the inventor, the pilot, the politician. Hill was the survivor, the actor, the quiet man who found a second life on a different kind of screen. Point to both. Spencer 5, Hill 5, dead, heading into the final round. And the final round is the only one that matters. Number 10, the final years, the last word. On a winter day in January 1990, a car skidded on an icy road near Stockbridge, Massachusetts. It struck a tree. Inside were two teenagers. One of them was Ross Hill, Terence Hill's adopted 16-year-old son. Ross was killed. His friend in the car died with him. Hill had been preparing to film Lucky Luke. Ross was supposed to play Billy the Kid. The role was never recast. Hill dedicated the entire series to his sons. The dedication reads, "Love is eternal." For nearly a decade, Hill disappeared from cinema. The fastest hands in spaghetti westerns went still. The grin that had sold 50 million movie tickets went dark. When he came back, it was as Don Matteo, a priest, a man who listens to other people's pain. Spencer never experienced that kind of loss. His final years were quieter. His body, which had carried him through 2 Olympic Games and 18 films of choreographed brawling, began to slow down. He spent his last years in Rome, close to his family, close to his friends. On June 27, 2016, Carlo Pedersoli died at the age of 86. His son Giuseppe said he died without pain, in the presence of his family. His last word was grazie. His funeral was held at the Church of the Artists at Piazza del Popolo in Rome. Hundreds of mourners came. As the coffin emerged, fans in the street began singing Dune Buggy, and Terence Hill was there, standing at the front, giving the eulogy. He told the mourners that on their very first film, Spencer had said something to him, something that turned out to be a promise. "We will never quarrel," and they never did. Not in 18 films, not in 49 years, not once. Hill told the journalists outside the church that having Spencer around was always fun. And then he said the last thing. "I already know that when we meet again, his first words shall be, 'We have never quarreled. The giant is gone. The cowboy is still here. He is 87 years old, and he is still standing.'" Final score. Spencer 5, Hill 5. A perfect draw. Because the real answer was never about who was tougher. It was about the fact that 2 men who were nothing alike, who came from different countries, who spoke different languages, who were built in completely different proportions, found each other on a film set in 1967 because another actor broke his foot, and they never let go. Spencer or Hill? Who was really tougher? We gave you the facts. Now you give us the verdict. Tell us in the comments. And if you haven't seen their individual stories, watch them next. Both are on this channel. Callback Ending. 49 years of friendship, 18 films, 0 arguments. In a business built on jealousy, betrayal, and broken contracts, 2 men from the same swimming club in Rome proved that the toughest thing in Hollywood isn't throwing a punch, it's keeping a friend.